Chapter 15. The aroma of rust, oil, and the smell of yet another oncoming storm filled the air, a testament to the countless machines that hummed and whirred within the surrounding buildings. In one such alleyway, Robert Fannec crouched behind a cluster of air-handling units, their metallic surfaces slick with condensation. "Awesome," he said under his breath. "Another game of hide-and-seek with government-trained lackeys." Robert sat stock-still as he watched two humanoid beings clad in crisp black suits approach the front door of a nearby warehouse. He recognized them as SLPS agents, and though they didn't seem overly concerned with searching the area, Robert knew better than to underestimate them. They moved at a snail's pace, eyes darting around the vicinity, as if expecting someone to materialize out of thin air. He silently pleaded with the pursuers, hoping they would move on and not discover his hiding place. The chilly dampness of the alley clung to his clothes, but he endured it willingly, knowing it was a necessary sacrifice to evade the watchful eyes of the agents. The agents were eerie, with monochrome skin and sharp, angular features. A metallic glint in their eyes watched the surrounding shadows, as if searching for something that wasn't even there. Robert didn't know what species these agents were, but they appeared sculpted from technology. Humanoid AIs weren't common in any sector, so Robert didn't think they were AIs. As the minutes dragged on, Robert's mind raced with memories of the recent events that had led him here. The discovery of Mr. Foreman's criminal activities, the daring escape, and now this oh-so-fun game of cat and mouse. He was filled with a deep foreboding that some grand event was looming in the near future, and he had no desire to be at the center of it. Nothing like being in the eye of the storm, huh? He tried to inject some humor into the situation. Desperate times called for desperate measures after all. Adrenaline coursed through his veins as he dared to peek out from the narrow gap between the air-handling units. The two male agents, clad in black suits, were making their way up one of the warehouse's entrances. He marveled at the sheer ridiculousness of their attire. It was like they had stepped right out of one of those cheesy old Earth movies. The agents paused by the door, exchanging a few hushed words that Robert strained to hear through the din of the industrial district swallowed up their low voices. Their heads swiveled, scanning the area with a predatory intensity that sent shivers down Robert's spine. He instinctively held his breath, praying they wouldn't glance his way. He implored the lurking figures, hoping they would heed his unspoken plea. "Come on, move along," he urged them within the confines of his thoughts. "A heap of rusty machinery, nothing worth investigating here." As if on cue, the agents resumed their journey into the warehouse, the heavy door creaking shut behind them with an ominous finality. Robert exhaled slowly, allowing himself a moment's relief before his survival instincts kicked back in. He hoped fortune would continue to favor him, fully aware of the unpredictable nature of a planet like Zorath. In a place like this, guarantees were a luxury one could not afford. "All right then, time to skedaddle," he thought, his mind racing with escape plans. With painstaking care, he eased out from behind the air-handling units, his muscles protesting after being coiled in hiding for so long. As he emerged into the alleyway, he surveyed the path ahead, every nerve ending, prickling with tense anticipation, gripped by a fear that the agents would suddenly burst back out of the warehouse. He picked up the pace, retracing his steps in the direction of his rented car drop-off. He comforted himself with a melodious inner voice, concealing the apprehension beneath a cheery tone. "Oh, so close," he thought, the words dancing playfully in his mind. "A hair's breadth away, and I'll be liberated from this predicament." As he navigated the labyrinthine network of alleys and side streets, Robert couldn't shake the sensation that unseen eyes were watching him from the shadows, dogging his every step. The weight of his paranoia threatened to suffocate him, but he stubbornly pushed forward, unwilling to let the darkness claim him yet. "Welcome to Zorath, where even the shadows have teeth." Robert felt a pang of frustration as he fumbled with his comm unit, attempting to reconnect with Ace. "Come on, you stupid piece of junk," he said under his breath, glaring at the stubbornly unresponsive screen. The small floating orb had been silent since shortly after they had arrived on Zorath, and Robert felt a growing sense of unease as he navigated the treacherous streets alone. "Fine," he huffed, finally admitting defeat. He removed the top of his maintenance uniform and cap, revealing his white t-shirt and unruly brown hair. At least he'd blend into the crowd better this way. Robert marveled at the surrounding city as he walked along the bustling street. The city's industrial district was a sprawling jungle of concrete and steel, punctuated by the occasional burst of neon from a holographic advertisement. The air was thick with smog and the cacophony of countless engines, creating a restless energy that seemed to permeate everything. But it was the people that caught Robert's eye. He had never seen any species of alien quite like these before. They came in a dizzying array of shapes and sizes, from bipedal creatures with multiple eye stalks to humanoid beings with luminous skin and strange haircuts. Everywhere he looked, there was another creature to marvel at. Despite the chaos surrounding him, Robert felt painfully exposed. Every pair of eyes seemed to bore into him, searching for any sign of weakness or vulnerability. He forced himself to remain calm, schooling his features into an expression of casual aloofness. He tried to project an air of nonchalance, thinking, "There is nothing to see here." He was another face lost in the crowd. The city seemed to take on a sinister hue, each shadowy corner hiding potential danger. Robert's heart thrummed in his chest, a relentless drumbeat urging him to find safety. The SLPS agents had been a chilling reminder of how dangerous his situation had become, and the thought of crossing paths with them again was enough to make his blood run cold. "Can't afford another close call like that," Robert quickened his pace. "Gotta get off this planet, and fast." As Robert moved through the ever-shifting sea of faces, he felt like a vulnerable prey animal, stalked by predators lurking beyond his peripheral vision. His nerves frayed, and every passing moment stretched out into an eternity as he urged himself onward, desperate for escape. He noticed a group of 3 young beings caught up in an energetic game of tag. As they dashed past one of the food carts, their long limbs and tails caught the edge, pushing it over with a crash. Dozens of round green vegetables rolled across the ground, their tangy scent filling the air. The vendor of the green vegetables, an aging Graxian with lilac skin and 4 eyes, let out an angry squawk at the sight of his spilled stock. As Robert walked along the bustling street, he was on edge. Every muscle coiled like a spring, ready to snap into action at any sign of danger. His dark humor and wit were his only solace, as he uttered sarcastic quips under his breath to keep his spirits up. With a weary sigh, Robert emerged from the shadowy maze of alleys into an open loading area. Cargo containers were stacked haphazardly, providing plenty of nooks for unseen threats to lurk. He paused, peering around warily as his mind raced. The spaceport was still far off, and continuing on foot exposed him. A plan began to form. If he could find some means of transportation, it would significantly increase his chances of escape. His eyes scanned the area until they fell upon a nondescript delivery van parked near the edge. Robert walked up to the driver's side window and peered inside. The keys were still in the ignition, a stroke of luck too good to pass up. He looked around quickly, checking for any telltale signs of suspicious activity. When none presented themselves, he quickly hopped into the driver's seat and turned the key in the ignition. Robert felt a spark of optimism as the engine purred to life, and he shifted the van into gear, driving off towards the spaceport. As he navigated the streets, Robert felt a sense of relief wash over him. He had successfully hijacked the delivery van without attracting any unwanted attention. The engine's hum was music to his ears, and he relished in the feeling of control he had regained over his situation. The smell of the van's contents was so overpowering that Robert could almost hear it, a loud buzzing sound in his ears that seemed to make his entire head ache. He tried to hold his breath, but the stench was too pungent, and he had to gasp for air. Now all he had to do was navigate to the spaceport, on an alien planet he'd never visited before, in a stolen vehicle with an odor like used socks and infection that all died weeks ago and were left in the back, without drawing the government's attention. Easy. Robert chuckled at the absurdity of his current situation as he commanded the van's AI to take him to the spaceport. There was something oddly comforting about relinquishing control of this small task and allowing technology to take over, allowing a moment of respite from what he had become accustomed to in Zorath. Constant danger and a looming sense of impending doom. As the van weaved through the unfamiliar streets, Robert noticed the strange beings and creatures that walked along the road. He was awed and unnerved by the sheer number of beings he saw, but as he listened to a local broadcast channel, he noticed the rising tension in the air. A fire had broken out throughout the district he was in. His blood ran cold at the implications. Whoever was in charge of the trafficking operation was willing to kill many people to keep it hidden. He shuddered at what could have happened if he was still stuck in that facility. As he drove towards the spaceport, Robert's mind raced with thoughts of what could have happened if he had been caught. It was a feeling he couldn't shake off, and he knew it would haunt him for a long time. But he didn't have much time to dwell on it, as he realized the spaceport was in view. "All right, Ace," he said under his breath, pulling out his comm unit again. "Time to find out if you're still alive and kicking, or at least alive and floating around obnoxiously." With the spaceport looming before him like a metallic beast, Robert was heartened by the thought that at least he'd managed to put some distance between himself and the SLPS. Agents. But the gnawing feeling of unease persisted, reminding him that he was far from safe on this strange and unpredictable planet. Robert's heart pounded in his ears as he wove through the crowds of aliens milling about the spaceport. The air was thick with a cacophony of languages, punctuated by the occasional roar of an engine or the hiss of a hydraulic system, an intense combination of food from various intergalactic vendors and the metallic tang of burnt fuel assaulted his nostrils. His eyes darted around, scrutinizing every face that passed, searching for any sign of pursuit. "Come on, Fannec," he said to himself. "Keep it together." The sleek black vessel with a red stripe stood out among the crowd of ships, its gleaming hull a beacon of hope for Robert. He still hadn't come up with a name for it yet, which irritated him to no end. "Maybe I'll call you Lucky Escape." As he approached his ship, a sense of relief began to wash over him, but it was tinged with the bitter taste of anxiety. The getaway had been too easy. Surely the SLPS agents were hot on his tail. Indeed, they'd have found a way to track him down by now. "Hey, buddy!" a gruff-looking alien with a purple-skinned face and 6 beady eyes called out. "You lost?" No. Just headed to my ship," Robert said, forcing a casual smile onto his face. "Ah, luck out there," the alien said with a toothy grin, before turning away. "Thanks, I'll need it," he said under his breath, continuing towards the vessel representing freedom and danger. Fear crawled down his spine like an icy spider, sending shivers through his body, despite his attempts to maintain his composure. The bay door hissed shut, encasing Robert in the familiar hum of his ship's systems coming to life. He breathed out slowly as he finally sat in the pilot's chair, feeling grateful. His fingers automatically wrapped around the control board. Despite the nagging unease that clung to him like a stubborn odor, this was the first time he felt a semblance of safety in hours. "All right," he said, flicking switches and tapping at screens. "Let's scurry out of here before our luck does a swan dive," and started to prepare the ship for flight. "Hey, Ace," he said softly, attempting again to establish contact with his partner. "You there?" Silence greeted his query, save for the ever-present background chatter of the spaceport's communication channels. Even the nameless ship itself conspired against him, mocking him with its anonymity. A sardonic grin spread across Robert's face. "Maybe I'll call you Fate's punchline," he said, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "Or how about the cosmic joke?" came a voice behind him, causing Robert to jump in his seat. He spun around, eyes wide, to find Ace spinning casually in the co-pilot's chair. The lanky man grinned at his AI partner, his fingers tapping rhythmically against his thigh. "Seems to fit our situation, don't you think?" "Jesus, Ace, you scared the hell out of me. When did you get back here?" "Right after you.